One of my biggest toxic traits is that I tend to get burnt out on games much quicker than the average gamer. If I don't feel instantly hooked within the first hour of playing, typically I won't pick it back up after the first time I play it. This is exactly what happened with Dredge. I played it for a whopping 97 minutes in one sitting, got 3 achievements, didn't feel that hook, and then I proceeded to uninstall it, thinking one day I'll come back to it and I'll try again. Previously, I made a video about web fishing, and I had a few comments, just a few, mentioning Dredge as one of their favorite fishing games. So, in the spirit of giving things a second chance, here I am to give Dredge another go around. Perhaps in my first attempt with the game, I hadn't given it enough time to show its strengths and the things that it was praised so highly for. The eerie and atmospheric storytelling, the psychological horror it presents through the paranoia that intensifies when fishing during the night, and the game's ability to balance a relaxing fishing mechanic with the challenges of limited inventory space and exploration. Also, it probably didn't help that I was streaming on Twitch during these 97 minutes of gameplay, so I wasn't really giving the game my 100% undivided attention. Surely this time while playing, I can fully immerse myself in all the game has to offer. Or will I? For those of you who don't know what Dredge is, it's an indie fishing game released in March of 2023. It mixes a simple yet sometimes challenging fishing mechanic with a Lovecraftian mystery story, creating the perfect balance of pleasant but unnerving gameplay. Progress through the story by completing side missions, exploring the map during the day and night, and upgrading your boat to increase carrying capacity, engine power, and more. While it only takes 10 to 16 hours to complete the game, it will take an extra couple hours to 100% the game, meaning catching all fish, upgrading everything possible, completing all the missions, and more. Since the game is heavily story-based with a true beginning and ending, the replayability of it isn't the best, but it still provides a wonderfully unique experience and story. Any person who enjoys a good fishing game and likes a creepy storyline will definitely enjoy this game. Now I want to explain what I didn't like about the first time that I played. Please remember, I was also streaming while playing this for the first time. These were my thoughts while playing the game as well as trying to stream simultaneously. Starting with what gave me the strongest feelings of disappointment, I felt extremely lost for nearly the entirety of playing. I wasn't sure what the main objective I was supposed to be focusing on was, and it seemed like wherever I went there was another objective that was added to my to-do list. Along with feeling lost in the sense of not knowing what to do, I also just actually felt lost when trying to traverse the map. The lack of a small mini-map made getting to and from places on the map slightly more difficult and annoying having to open the map constantly. I know that's being nitpicky, I'm just a huge fan of mini-maps. Let a girl live. Finally, the controls just gave me massive issues. Trying to read chat and also steer my boat at the same time is a lot harder than it seems. I liked the overall aesthetic of the game. The music, the art style, and the fishing mechanic are phenomenal, which is why I was disappointed when I wasn't immediately hooked on the game. I wanted to like the game, but something didn't click during that first 90 minutes of playtime. I pondered everything I disliked about it and thought, surely it's because I was also streaming at the same time. Let's give this game another shot. This will be your one and only warning. Starting right here, the rest of the video will contain spoilers for the game's story. This is your warning. I started a fresh save file and was instantly already enjoying the game much more than I previously had. I was actually able to take in the beginning of the game and see what the setup of the story was. Meeting the collector on the outskirts of the Morrows is where the main objective of the game begins. He tasks you with retrieving 5 relics that are dispersed across 5 different major areas of the map. When I first played the game, I believe I only made it as far as finding the collector. It took me almost 2 hours into the second playthrough for me to make it to a different area of the map, Gale Cliffs. It isn't too different from the Morrows, but this area suffers from the mountains crumbling away and a serpent monster that lurks in the narrow passageways between the cliffs. Each region offers unique characteristics and lore that help slowly reveal the disturbing truth about the area. Stellar Basin used to be a thriving tourist attraction thanks to its warm tropical weather, but an enormous kraken-like creature lurks in the center. Twisted Strand is a swamp-like forest with large trees, vines, and roots. The area is littered with plane wreckage as well as the mind-sucker creatures. And finally, the Devil's Spine, probably the most annoying area on the entire map. Volcanic waters with ancient ruins and shrines riddled with small piranhas that swarm the player and call to their mother to attack you. As you obtain more relics, the collector becomes more and more obsessive, and you learn that his quest to collect these relics stems from personal loss and his pursuit of power. While completing all the side quests isn't necessary to beating the game, they add an incredible amount of lore and world building to the story, as well as reward you with items such as books or research parts. However, some story elements left me scratching my head in confusion, and it led to me googling who certain characters were supposed to be and what purpose they served. Specifically, the backstory of the old mayor and how he went mad. Before disappearing, he would pace the shoreline and scream, "Throw it back," while throwing items into the ocean. I found him at his campsite at Devil's Spine, and was mostly just confused as to what his purpose was. He talks of a book, silver and crimson in color, and covered in her blood, yelling to throw it back, and to ask the lighthouse keeper for more information. Obviously, once I reached the end of the game, I realized this interaction was needed to unlock the good ending of the game. And even after smashing the mirror at the collector's house and doing both endings, I was still confused as to who I was, the fisherman, how the collector was the fisherman's alter ego, and how all the message in the bottles are diary entries of our dead wife. But we don't remember the event that killed her, but that we also caused the fog that plagues the area. I'm honestly still a little lost on the whole timeline of the game, even after doing all of the research for this video. I definitely enjoyed the whole vibe of the story, don't get me wrong, but I won't lie. I had to Google Dredge story explained after I did both endings. I'm not saying that I need a game's story spoon-fed to me like a child, but I've never been good at deciphering games' narratives that leave things up to the player's interpretation. I just want solid and straightforward answers. But do you know what is solid and straightforward in this game? The fishing, inventory management, and equipment upgrading. Each area of the map has fish that are native to only that area, or can only be caught using certain types of equipment. The fish also have mutated versions of each species, some even having multiple. The fishing minigame mechanic is one of the best I've ever played. It's simple enough to understand, but at times can be challenging if you're not paying attention or if a monster sneaks up on you. It also varies slightly between different types of fish, keeping it nice and fresh, preventing me from feeling burnt out too quickly. Each fish species can vary in size and shape, which is where the Tetris-style inventory system comes into play. As you progress in the game, fish become larger and more irregular in size, making it more challenging to fit fish into your boat. But you can also increase your boat's inventory size to hold more fishing gear, larger engines to make your boat go faster, and stronger lights to traverse the sea at night. You collect materials like wood, metal, and cloth, as well as research parts to slowly upgrade your boat and gain better equipment like stronger fishing rods, crab pots, and nets. I loved the upgrade tree and the progression of improving your boat, but I found it very easy to afford these upgrades. Perhaps I locked in too hard with fishing for profit because it felt like I always had enough cash to buy whatever I needed at the drop of a hat. This isn't a bad thing, but it did lessen the grind feeling, which is one of my favorite parts of playing games. I will say that I did enjoy this second chance with Dredge, but will I continue to play it to get all of the achievements? Or would I ever start up another save file to replay? I can't say that I would. I enjoyed the game and the story that it offered, but it doesn't have much replayability due to it being built around a very structured story, instead of a never-ending type game, like RimWorld or Terraria. Heavy quotes around never ending, because these games do technically have endings, but they're not tied to a strict story, and it takes many hours of gameplay to get these endings if you are a casual player. I have nearly 300 hours in RimWorld, and I have never beat this game. Same with Terraria. Over 200 hours, and I've only ever beaten Moonlord one time. I'm not comparing these games directly to Dredge, of course. Dredge is a story-driven exploration fishing game, RimWorld is a base-building colony sim, and Terraria is an open-world survival sandbox. These are just two examples of games that I've replayed multiple times. And if I'm being completely honest, story-based games aren't normally my thing. As I've said in the beginning of the video, I get burnt out on playing games fairly quickly, so games with heavy stories tend to turn me off simply because I know that I won't beat it before I get tired of playing it, abandon it, and then return months later. But since I don't remember what I was doing in the game or where I'm at in the story, I'll just restart. And then it's rinse and repeat. It's a genuine miracle when I manage to complete a game that has any sort of strict ending. An example of a story game that I love, but still have not finished despite having multiple save files, is Baldur's Gate 3. I have just over 100 hours in the game, and I have never even made it to Act 3. Red Dead Redemption 2, another game that I think is just absolutely beautiful. 54 hours played. Don't think I've ever gotten more than 50% through the story. Only recently have I beaten GTA 5 story mode, and I have played it on and off since its release in September of 2013. That's right, it took me over 10 years to finally complete the story mode. I have one and only one example of a story-based game that I've not only completed the main story, but I've completed it multiple times. And that's Fallout 4. I've made a video about my thoughts on the game if you're interested. Right here? Right here. Anyways, went on a slight tangent there. My point is, Dredge could be taken to a whole new level if they added harder difficulty modes. Things like decreasing the worth of fish, increasing the cost of upgrades, doubling or even tripling the monster spawn rate, increasing the difficulty of the fishing minigame. Hell, give me permadeath mode. One death and you lose. I think the overall story of the game is great, even though I was a little lost at times. The gameplay and its mechanics feel smooth, with a wonderful art style and fantastic soundtrack. However, I feel like this game is just not for me. I enjoyed my time playing, and I'm glad that I stuck to finishing the game. But there were times during playing when I was just playing passively, just wading around the map, catching fish aimlessly, because I just didn't have the drive to do the main missions. This reflects more on me as a gamer than it does on the game itself, of course. But I just did not have that itch to play like I get with games that I've put tens of hundreds of hours in. But also in the same breath, games don't need to have hundreds of hours of content to be considered a good game. Portal is considered one of the best games of all time and has a main story completion time of only 3 hours. Another highly praised game at only 7 hours of game time is Undertale. Okay, actually I lied earlier. In addition to Fallout 4, I've also completed a playthrough of Undertale. Love sans Undertale. Overall, Dredge is a phenomenal, well-crafted game with a great blend of a Lovecraftian story with solid game mechanics. And while it doesn't completely resonate with me, I 100% understand why the game has an overwhelmingly positive rating on Steam. Its focus on balancing eerie and panic-inducing exploration with a relaxing fishing experience is unique, and it sets it apart from your typical AAA game. If you enjoy story-driven games with a good fishing mechanic, Dredge is 100% worth it. And if you don't like those kinds of games, maybe you should try it anyways, like I did. I don't know. Who am I to tell you what to do? I'm not your mom. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed the video, I'd appreciate a like, and if you want to see more videos from me in the future, be sure to subscribe. Why can't I say the word subscribe? Have a great day.